advertisers.
This is ContactTalkRadio.com. Consciousness in action. And you are taking action into your consciousness by tuning into Contact Talk Radio.
And on TuneIn.com, Hing.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio.
Welcome to Life Mastery with Todd Allen, the talk radio show that dives into the science of higher consciousness. Join Todd and his guests weekly at 10 a.m. Pacific Time and learn how to live a peaceful life with intentional mastery. Enjoy a survey of inspiring topics such as abundance, intention, health, manifestation, love, and transformation. It's all right here. Leading authors, speakers, coaches, entrepreneurs with stories and messages to support your well-being, let alone your most evocative dreams.
Hey, it's another groovy day, and most of you know why, but I'm going to tell you anyway. That's because when I woke up this morning, I made the decision that it was going to be a groovy day, and it has no choice. The whole day has to be groovy. I just want to, and I get back in the groove, and the world becomes groovy, and everything's good. Welcome to Life Mastery Radio, the talk show that brings you great thoughts and ideas for you to use on your very own life mastery journey. Jackie's looking at me funny. Am I unstable, Jackie?
Yeah, you're glitching a little bit.
It looks, I'm glitching a little bit. We're going to give it a little bit of time. 1, 2, 3. Am I doing okay now?
It looks better.
Okay.
It looks better.
Well, let's just take a minute while we wait for the glitchiness to settle. And let's get focused and settle.
I don't know, Todd. You're glitching.
You glitching? Okay, Jackie, I'm going to jump off. You take over opening up the show. Let's see how you do. I won't be able to see it, but you have fun. I'm going to jump off and jump back on.
All right. Well, let me see if I can step into Todd's big shoes here and fill those. And I'm actually here with Michelle, who's actually going to be probably better at this than I am. But let's just take a second to get a little grounded in our space and in our zone, because we have a wonderful guest today who's going to talk a lot about energy. And so if you can just close your eyes for a second, if you'd like to. And let's just think about getting centered. Take some breaths or get in tune with your breathing. Notice every breath and see if you can get in tune with that heart center of yours. Whether you believe in a God or Mother Nature, whether you believe in the source, whatever your central focus is for where you feel abundant, just focus on that for a second. And let's fill up our lungs. Take a really slow, deep breath for about 3 counts. And then let's hold that for 3 counts and breathe it out for 3 counts. Let's do that together. Great. Let's do that one more time. 3 counts. Inhale, hold, and exhale. All right. Now, Todd would ask you to consider your dreams, your hopes, anything that you'd like to have, and call that out to the universe. Give that energy forward. Give it out so that it can come back, echo itself back to you, and you can receive it. Maybe take another deep cleansing breath. All right. That's great. I feel centered. And you're back, Todd. How do you feel?
I hope I'm back. I hope I'm not glitchy.
Just a tiny bit. Tiny a little bit.
Oh,
but
no.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jackie. I think you did very well on that opening. We should do that more often. Maybe we'll have to rotate back and forth. Check that out. We have a really cool show for you today. And of course, my good friend Jackie opened it up. Good job, Jackie. What's going on in the Speak, Feed, Lead org project?
Well, lots of things going on. We've always got classes starting. For those who may not know, Todd and I are involved. Sit on the board of a nonprofit called the Speak, Feed, Lead Project, where we hold empowered speaking classes, courses, workshops, summits for children who are age 10, so about fourth grade on up. We also provide courses and mentoring for young people going into college who want to write a personal essay or to make a personal video for their college submission papers. We work with individuals like that. And of course, we have adult classes as well. But our goal is really to just help people to speak with power, to feed others by word and actions that we take, and lead with positive influence. And as we move out of the springtime soon and into the summer, we've got lots of classes coming up for kids age grades 4 through 8. And those will be mini workshops 3 days a week, and until things return to complete normal where we can have summer camps, then we're just doing these virtual workshops. And they're great focus on different communication skills for the kids, and it really gives them an opportunity to engage socially in a very safe way, and provides an opportunity for them to gain more confidence and power in who they are and with their own energy. So that's what we're working on. Yeah.
How are the classes, Jackie? Are they filling up? Are you getting lots? I know you're getting ready to have some classes start here pretty soon.
Well, I'll tell you what, we have got students now from so many states in the union. We've got Virginia and Texas. We've got Illinois. We've got Indiana. So cool. We've got Florida. We are working on Kansas. So there's we're getting better known out there. And so I don't know that our classes are filling because we're getting kids from all over the place. So we're trying to be as accommodating as we can to different time zones. But it's growing. It's growing by leaps and bounds. And like I said, more and more interest is being discovered. So it's fun that way. Yeah.
It is very fun. It's been kind of a long road with some bumps, but things, it's your energy. You just put out good energy and you let people know you have a good thing cooking and they should be part of it. And that's all part of it. And you're offering something that makes a difference in people's lives. So yeah, that's really cool.
We definitely want to be the expert on empowering children. That's our goal.
I want to remind our listeners that today's show page is at www.lifemasteryradio.net or .com. You can go there. Any links that we talk about today will be listed there, and our wonderful guest links are listed there. We're going to have a really cool show. We have a really groovy guest with us today, and she's going to enlighten and empower and send us off in a good direction. While you're on the website, please check out my book, 6 Keys to Life Mastery, Unlocking Life Skills for Successful Living. It's a really cool book. I know you'll love it. And after you love it and read it, give me some feedback on Amazon. Jackie has a book too. Jackie, where's your book?
Where's my book? I moved it the other day.
I'll
have to find it. I don't have it. Oh, it's on the floor. Never mind.
Self-centered leadership. You can go to www.lifemasteryradio. Her book is right there. It's a really cool book. And she wrote that book, so I had to write a book. Now we're even. Okay, on with the show. Am I still glitching a little?
No, I think you're doing better. So I think we're good. Oh, wait. Now he's a little bit.
For me. We're going to get through it. I'm going to get through it.
You're going to get through it. Send a good energy.
Jackie's glitching.
Am I?
Looked like Michelle was okay. You were glitching. It's a glitch day, but we're going to get through it. So bear with us, Welch. And she is the owner and operator of 2. I think it's 3 now, though. I think I have to update it. She has 3 Soultopia metaphysical stores. I think we'll get her to tell us. I think she opened one in Frisco is what I heard. where she offers intuitive readings and healing sessions in addition to teaching classes on crystals, tarot, energy work, and intuition. One of my favorite subjects is that intuition. She's a reformed attorney. I want to know more about that. And she is still an active attorney at law, licensed in the state of Texas. Michelle is also the host of Soul What podcast. It's kind of a cool name. And Michelle Soultopia YouTube channel. She is also an ordained minister. Wow. And holds many certificates in various divinations and healing modalities. MichelleWelch.com, Soultopia.guru. I didn't know they had a .guru. That's interesting. Or mysoultopia.com. Hi, Michelle. How are you today, my friend?
I'm doing really well. Am I glitching?
No,
I don't think so.
I think we're going to move past the glitch.
Okay. It's our great energy, right?
Overwhelming. Like King Solomon got overwhelmed by being so connected, right?
That's right. I'm doing really well. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a groovy time. Jackie and I just have a blast every Tuesday because we get to rub elbows with some really cooler people. Cool, maybe not cooler. So right out of the gate, Michelle, I got to know, you were an attorney. Have you always been, or you are an attorney? Have you always been into metaphysics? Those two just don't meld very well. I at least that's my opinion, I think.
So I've not always been into what I would call metaphysics. I've been into spirituality. What that would have been called for me growing up or taught to me in the Bible Belt of Texas, it would have been called, or in Texas, in my family, it would have been called religion. And for me, I realized fast forward through my life, and intuition was always very much a part of it. Story after story. I didn't put that thing in my bio, as a 3-year-old child, I was highly intuitive, but I was, and had some very interesting stories. And that would be in my family, the gift of prophecy, the gift of discernment, and which I never make fun of. That's each and every person to their own beliefs. And that was my belief that I was raised with preachers on all sides of my family, missionaries, everything. And so from a very young age, I knew I was very different in that way. And it was accepted in certain ways. Was I exposed to anything metaphysical? Oh, no. That would not have been allowed. And so fast forward, law school, being a lawyer, really judge was the end result, which is probably the one side of law that I haven't done. Thought about it a couple years ago, running and just saying, okay, I'm going to change again. But I didn't. That would have been a fool's errand, I think, at that point. But so maybe the fool card errand, I don't know. But I was very close to that. But it was something I like law, and my daughter's going into law now. My ex-husband was in law. So it was I'm very immersed in law. I know a lot of judges, and I will tell you, when I finally told them that a lot of my friends, judge friends, legal friends, I kind of said, hey, you guys, this is the deal about me. They were like, oh, we're so relieved. And we're like, now we know how to explain you, because
I could see. So to me, judges are very in very high integrity, right? Yeah. And the persona that I have of lawyers is not so much high integrity. So I guess I can see that jump into a higher integrity type position. Maybe I'm wrong. That's just my perception.
Right. I think that probably that's in every area. My perception would be maybe that's in every area of life. Maybe there's some more in other areas than others. I found it in this area of life too, to be honest with you. So, I think we each have our own journey. The judges, and even some of my law friends, they have the utmost integrity, and some don't. So, and in this field too, not to dispute you, but you know what I'm talking about.
I
You
do.
can find it. You can find it everywhere. In church, I found it too. So
Good point. Point
so-
well taken.
you know, so but it was interesting. For me, it was more that kind of that left brain, right brain thing. And people always are like, how do you reconcile the left brain and the right brain? And I say, I don't have to.
Yeah.
I don't believe to be highly intuitive, to be whatever you want to call it, whatever label somebody wants to put on our beingness, that we have to choose what side of the brain we want to operate out of. That's just not part of my belief system, that I have to choose. And when I teach, I don't think we have to choose, because I believe we were given both. Yeah. And we were given both.
Cool.
So what type of attorney were you? And how did you make the switch from religious to the metaphysical? What did that look like?
So I was the type of attorney was pretty much everything. I started out Court of Appeals, then prosecutor. I interned for the Court of Appeals, so I wrote opinions. I even have my name like in opinion books, where you can't find, like what we were talking about earlier, finding Waldo, find my name in this book. You know, it'd be diagonal, written into an opinion. Just a fun thing interns do when they're writing opinions in law books that a lot of people don't know. And then I was a prosecutor in Dallas. Then I did criminal defense for a short while, then criminal appeals. Then my ex-husband and I started a rather large, very still prosperous civil litigation firm, which does pretty much everything except for family law and maybe medical mal, or family law and criminal law. They don't do that. And as far as the switch from spiritual, from religious to metaphysical, thank you for getting me back to my point on that, it was really an awakening. Like one day I just woke up. People say that, you hear that, and it really happened. I just wasn't happy. I just was, and not that happiness is the goal, but I was empty. And I wasn't feeling even the difference, religious, spiritual. I wasn't feeling anything. I loved my children. I would do anything for my children. I just wasn't, I felt empty inside. And I knew that there was more, there was more to what I had studied. I had taken classes at the Dallas Theological Seminary. I had, after law school, I love to learn. I love to read. And I just knew there was more. And that's how it happened.
And this was even after you became an ordained minister?
The ordained minister came, I didn't get that through Dallas Theological Seminary. That came after. And it's not a real long progress that I went through. That's more so for my healings. I do that just for, I'm pretty big into.
And it probably gave,
liability wise.
It probably gave her the magic wand to be able to marry people, right? To doink them. You are now married.
I've only done 2, and that takes your whole weekend. So no, other people can do that. So they're very close friends of mine. Now, it gave me the magic wand to be able, in Texas anyway, you can actually, you know, if you're doing Reiki, not that you need to touch people, but you can
touch people. Oh, wow. Interesting. So, fascinating. So, Michelle, you know, first of all, I have to comment. I found it very, very opening and very honest on your part when in your book you said, writing, and I'm paraphrasing now, but you said writing this book allowed me to practice what I was writing about. And can you dive down into that a little bit more? I think you were talking about going through turmoil and different things were happening in your life, and you were able to just sit back and, well, I just wrote about this. I'm going to practice it.
Yes, still. I had to practice it in Tucson. That's why I say thank you for asking that. I have not arrived. I feel like if I've arrived,
we're still human, right, Michelle? We're still human.
I signed up for this. They say that. I guess I believe that I signed up for this human experience somehow. I guess I question everything. People say, you signed up for this human experience, and I'll sit there and ponder that for like weeks. Did I sign up for this human experience? And so I question everything everyone says. So, and not to argue, but just to ponder. And so I really just, yes, like there are some days when I feel like I can transmute, I can change energy, transmute energy and change the form of energy. And there's some days when I feel like I'm just going to crumble. And that's why I believe it really is a cyclical journey. It's not linear. It's not like we're going to just arrive. And I'm not going to be Pollyanna about that in my life. I'm not going to try to make people think that I am, because that would be phony. And I don't think that would bring hope to people. I do believe in creating your reality. I do believe in speaking your reality in existence, but I believe it's in a balance of also being feelings and honest where you are in your life.
Yeah, very cool. So then that just leads me to the next question is, what called you to write this type of book? This book is, I would describe it as an instruction booklet. I would describe it as a path for people who are experiencing things they don't understand, to help them understand those things. So why this book? Why now? And were you called to create it?
A couple of reasons why. Be in our store, and yes, you're correct. We now are going to have 3 stores as of May, but primarily in the first store, our main, there's not really a main, but the first store, people would come in, and there's kind of a parallel track in the book. People who are empaths and people who then want to cut cords with anything they don't like in their life. And I started noticing it on social media, like even before the elections, which you know how that went, just everybody arguing about everything. Even before that, it was just like, cut that off, be done with it. I'm not talking about boundaries. Let me do a lawyer disclaimer here. I am not talking about good, healthy boundaries. I'm talking about just cut that person off. And there was almost a lot of bragging about, to be authentic, you just need to cut everybody out of your life. Just, and that, it was almost like I was reading a lot, or at least where I was from, that made you more authentic, to just get rid of everybody in your life. And that started to bother me. Mm-hmm. Then I would have people come in my store and they'd say, well, I'm an empath. And they would take a lot of quizzes, whether it be in, a certain magazine or wherever they were reading. And these books are wonderful. They tell us, they told me I'm an empath. I'm sensitive. I sense a room. Maybe my feelings get hurt easily. Maybe I'm told I'm overly sensitive. Maybe I'm told you're paranoid, but which I don't. Empaths don't like, by the way, to be told that. No, I'm not paranoid. I know. And so, but I would hear this, but the next thing I would hear out of the mouths of not only myself, but other people was, so I can't go to that party. And it's pre-COVID. I can't be around their negativity. I can't do this. It wasn't I choose. So there's a lot of not taking responsibility for our own, managing our own energy and minding our own energy and scanning our energy to see what was ours. So that was part of the book. And I was also selling a lot of like black tourmaline and shungite, which I love, and saying this will help protect you, or bubbles of protection, which are all wonderful, wonderful tools. I have stores full of crystals, beautiful. We're here in Tucson buying them, and all these wonderful tools in the book. But I thought, if a black tourmaline can absorb energy, which we all do, no matter how, in my opinion, no matter how many, bubbles of protection we put up, we're sponges. We're gonna absorb energy. We're all energy. We're all one. So we're one. And if it can deflect it, and if it can transmute energy, why can't we? And so and then the cutting cords, I just had person after person after person come to me. And if it's working for somebody to cut cords and do a ritual of cord cutting, by all means, keep doing it. I would never argue with somebody and say, well, no, that's wrong. But if it's not, then I propose a different way of looking at it, to try it a different way, and to just stop by cords, those etheric connections that we all have. I propose if we're one, then we can't cut them. They're going to come back. The minute we see that person again or that place, it triggers it and we feel it again. So that's why. Long story, long answer, but it was a lot of reasons. And that's why, and yes, I felt very compelled. It was constant, every day, many times a day. Same thing. I was hearing over and over.
Well, you listened to that calling then. That's very cool.
Yeah.
So does your book then provide alternatives from cutting people completely off? Because I think your book pretty much preaches that we are all energetic and that we're all connected to each other with our energies, right? So what happens if you start cutting people off that way? Does it affect us? I would imagine it does. And it probably affects them. So does your book give some alternatives to doing just that?
Yes, it gives 50 exercises. So we start with the very basic of, even sensing energy, because some people can't. Just learning how to sense energy between our hands. I would recommend those of us who say we know how to sense energy, I'd say, yes, do that. But start with the very beginning and don't skip. And people are like, oh, it's repetitive. Intentionally, it's repetitive because that gets it in. Or gets it into us ritually. And then, what it does as you get further into the book, it hopefully we've used it in little situations. As far as, I always use traffic as an example, I guess, because Dallas has bad traffic. But if somebody cuts you off in traffic and you're ready to go, or I'm ready to go, don't cut me off, and I'm going to cut you off now, or whatever it would be, that would make somebody feel down, or if somebody hurts my feelings, I need to practice minding my own energy, my part of the cord of connection. I've even told people since I wrote the book, at this point, don't even worry about the other end of the cord. The book talks about that, but it really simply goes back to forgiveness for ourselves. We don't have to be best friends with those people. We may not even know them. We may not know the person across the world, but we're connected to them. Maybe they've done something to us. We are connected to world leaders. Clearly, they affect us. I'm not, again, trying to bring up that. I'm just saying we clearly are. In situations. So.
I think Marianne Williamson anchored that for me she said, I can love you, but it doesn't mean we have to go to lunch.
Yeah.
That's always stuck with me for some reason, and I think it's really cool.
It is. And, but it's the first thing people ask me in the book. They go, well, what about? And so there's a whole chapter on, how do we, and I'm not sure, Jackie, if I answered your question thoroughly, but it does give tools of how to handle it, this step by step. And I almost do it like a case. Like I would lay out a case, because I want people to believe that, yes, we are connected. And because of that, if we're just saying we're going to cut everyone out of our lives, and there needs to be a different way.
Well, I picked up on something that you talked about in your book that I think will help in this area, and maybe we can drill down on it just a little bit more. And that was, you described the scenario where people send other people, or have the conscious thought of other people and sending them to the light, right? I think I'm getting this right. And instead you transform or transmute that thought into us already being part of the light, that we then send them the light, or we light up their life. Did I get that right?
Yeah. So that was one of my thoughts of the things that I hear a lot from people. So you'll hear a lot about, well, just send that energy to the light. Even people will see. And if somebody does this, I'm not trying to insult you, because I have friends who do it.
Well, it's just a matter of technique, I think.
They'll just snap energy away. Okay, so energy never goes away. It just changes forms, right? So that's law of conservationism. Is the law of thermodynamics. It just changes form. There's a limited amount. It never goes away. It just changes form. So if we're just snapping it, or we're saying we're going to send it to the light, or we're going to send it to Mother Earth to transmute it, why can't we do it ourselves? And if we're really, and if you say send it to the light, and you guys are light, you're so pleasant, you're of light, right? We all are polarity to and duality, but we're met that energy that someone's working on. It may go to you. Okay, so just saying, I'm going to send that to the light. The light, I propose transmuting the energy instead and changing the form of the energy. We saved a lot. And people will come in and they, we, with another disclaimer, teaching them to pay honor to where the sage comes from and all those sorts of things. They'll buy the sage and we teach them. My husband a lot will teach the sage a room or to clear a room. But if you're just going to shove it out the door and you're not going to transmute that energy, it's just lingering outside your door. You can't change the form of that energy unless you have set the intention that the sage has done that. So that's what I was talking about on that is, if we will just do that ourselves, we can do that. Yeah. Eventually, we don't need the tools, but most of the time I need the tools still. I'm still working. That's where I'm honest in my book. I'm still working on getting there to where, I can just transmute all kinds of energy. And people will see me doing this, and that's just me trying to transmute energy, or trying to practice what I wrote in my book. And sometimes you're caught off guard and you need your tools.
We're human. We're human and we're here for the experience. And it's just tools like you're proposing that we can use and they work and it makes a difference. It doesn't mean that that we are empowered and on another level, right?
Right. But, we can do it too. And that's what the book is about, is just to say we can.
So what are your feelings? I'm of the contention that just about everybody has the ability to be an empath. And it's just a matter of them tuning into it and purchasing a book like yours and practicing with it. Is that what you believe too?
Yes. I wrote one little controversial sentence in the book, maybe not just one, but I wrote that, well, yes, and it depends on empath, intuitives, if you want to use the word psychic, which is very close to the word faith. I say we reclaim that word. I always have my students look up the word psychic and faith and spirituality because they're all extremely close. But can everyone be an empath? Yes, I believe if we're all one, we all lean into each other's energy. We're all bumping auras with each other all the time, or some energy being that we might not see. So we're all one, everything. So of course we are all empathic in some way, or an empath in some way. What I did say in the book, and I talked to psychiatrists and psychologists, some people have argued with me, even those who are leaning into fear, or like to lean into others' fear, because again, that polarity and duality, there's those people can even be empaths when we're in that our shadow side. So yes, I agree with you.
Yeah, so empath doesn't mean that you always have the best intentions in mind, right? No. You can be empathic, but you could actually be working against the light.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm kind of new to the metaphysics realm a little bit. So as you're talking
she's
about,
learning really quick though.
I am
she's picking it up very fast and becoming magical. I'm almost a little concerned about her
I call that remembering, right? You're remembering. You're not, it's just
true.
Yeah, cool. I guess. Yeah. But as you're talking about transmuting energy, and that we don't really get rid of energy, it's always there. It just changes to something else. And it brought to mind that the fact that it doesn't probably take any more energy to feel anger than it does to feel gratitude or feel love, right? So in my childlike brain trying to understand what you're saying, I'm guessing that when it boils down to, in language I can understand, is that we choose how we're going to use that energy for which action or which emotion we're going to use it for. And so that doesn't necessarily mean that we're empathic by any means. It just means that we have a little more control over that energy when we learn to use it in a good way.
Absolutely. And I think you put it very well, Jackie, because the way you said it is really whatever that is. I think there's a lot of programming that has gone into a lot of us, how we do respond or react, respond or react. There's a lot of programming that's gone into that, and to deprogram that, no matter how old we are. And they're working with younger people, so if they can, if I had known some of these things, to how to be an empath, somebody who walks in a room, and it doesn't mean that I have to be highly intuitive, but I walk in a room and I feel like, oh, you know, that person may not like me. Well, that person, as I put in the book, that person really may just have a headache, but I feel like, oh, you know, I'm
Picking up.
I'm very, very,
Right.
you know, just I feel energy very strongly. And so that they really, it's not about me, you know, it's about them. And if I can be taught, if I had been taught that earlier, not that my parents weren't good at teaching, they just didn't know about empathy.
Right.
They just didn't know to teach it. And now we know a lot more. And so when we're working with, you know, 10, 11, they feel that very strongly. The children who walk in the room and they feel the room. I mean, they can feel and read the room very quickly, and they may wrongly assume that somebody's upset with them when really that person is upset because maybe they had an argument at home before they left home, and they're not upset with them at all.
And that
Right.
has the ability, yeah, I'm glad you talked about this, because that has the ability to really affect a young person. They're picking up on energies and they have no idea, and it's just like, and it causes them to withdraw. I think you talked about that in your book, about just shutting it off or just blanking it out and not dealing with it. And that in some cases is even worse.
It is. It really, I hear some people will say, well, my empathy or being an empath is, I hear this, is a curse. And they don't mean somebody's put a curse on them.
I've heard that from people too.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And so I think it's so important for us to understand when someone younger or even older is feeling that way. My mother used to say to me, and she's a lovely woman, and she did not mean it rude. She would be, I may have put it in the book. I'm not sure if I put mother in the book but she would say, you know, or friends would say this to me too. It's not all about you, Michelle. And it wasn't because I was being narcissistic, feeling it was about me. I would feel things so deeply.
Yeah.
And it did sort of feel like a reverse narcissism, though. It would be like, oh, are they mad at me? And I'd have a lot of, if you hear a child saying a lot of times, are you mad at me? Did I do something wrong? Are you upset with me? They're probably sensing and feeling a room.
Feeling
And
something.
that's an empath. I mean, that's
Yeah.
feeling a room. And they need to be taught how to say, okay, let me scan my energy. And I teach this in the book, scan how I feel before I go out, before I go into, and I don't know if it's on Zoom, but let's say it's in a classroom or even on Zoom. Before I go into a meeting, is this my energy? Do I feel secure today? Am I feeling a little shaky? Is that my headache? And then I walk into a room or a grocery store or whatever. And then if I pick something up, I know, okay, no, that's not mine. I'm picking up on somebody else's stuff, and I don't need to take that on.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's really cool.
That is really cool. So who should read your book? Who is your book for? Is it for the empath, or is it for those who think they might be, or for those who have no clue whether they are or not?
All of them, I'd say.
I really mean this. I say everyone, because I do believe everybody has some form of being an empath, whether you're connected to animals, that's an empath. Feel into animals, whether you're everything's energy, whether you feel into the environment and you're especially connected to the environment, whether you're a parent with children, whether you're a spouse who is married to somebody who leans into, I call it leaning into energy. So, or it's you, and you know, you want to figure out what to do with it. If it's a teacher, so everybody, and I say in the beginning of my book, I really think everyone should read it, because honestly, if they don't think they're an empath, they are some sort of empath, I believe. And even if they are insistent, no, I'm not, then they can help someone who is. They're going to work with somebody who is, and they can say, you know, there's this trick you could do if nothing else, you could scan your energy and say, I mean, that's pretty, I think that's like right near maybe chapter 1 or 2 or 3 in the book. I can't remember now, but it's in the book, and it's, and you can scan your energy and know. And as you progress through the book, you can learn the different skills of how to transmute that energy. But anybody, really.
You know, when I was growing up, I would hear, well, that's just woman's intuition. That's woman's intuition. And is there something to that? I mean, because we've had several guests on the show who are empaths, and they've all been women. And I don't know if that's just coincidence or if women do tend to be a little more in tune that way. I mean, you tell me, you've come from both sides of, you know, religion and logic and judgment and, you know, all of that stuff. So what do you think about that?
Well, and I will say there's a little difference between empathy and, you know, intuition without going into that, but we blended a little, but it does blend. I would say most empaths are, well, I don't want to get in, you know, is every empath an intuitive? I don't really like all the labels. So let's just say, do I think women? No. I think that men for a long time were told not to sense their feelings and to get in touch with their feelings.
Yeah.
So I think it's a cultural thing, and maybe a world cultural thing, maybe not. It's certainly a Western. So I think that, I personally think that's what it is. Personally, in our stores, it's amazing. I love seeing this. We are seeing such an uptick in the numbers of men coming into our stores. Their daughters are bringing them in, like the families, and then the men are coming in by themselves without, you know, then they're coming back in. And so it's starting to climb as people are asking, you know, purpose and things like that. So I think it's culture and being told, don't get in touch with your emotions. And it's not just emotions, but don't get in touch with that inner self as much.
That's a good really answer, cool. Especially considering the fact that religious leaders for many years were mostly men. Right? Yeah. It hasn't been until recently when religious leaders have become women. So these men, not that there's anything wrong with religion, I'm not saying that at all, but that those tenets are what they learn. They go to school to learn it, and it's harder then to think of another way to reach the source than just this one way they've been taught.
That's a really good point. Yeah, I hadn't thought that's really that.
Well, religion's a lot different though, too. I mean, there was a time when people that were identified with these kinds of abilities were coined as witches and gotten rid of in a horrific way. So that it's, to me, it's a little bit different. And even in today's world, that was going to be my next question, Michelle, was it's my understanding that religion and population at churches is dropped off drastically. I mean, it is just crashed. And you're telling me you're seeing more and more people in the stores and more curiosity about these abilities and spirituality. Is that the big transmutation that you're noticing going on in our society? Is this what's going on?
I haven't looked at the numbers for churches.
It's down, way down. It's spooky way down, because this is where connection comes from, right? Even on its basic level, this is where people go to get connected and confer with people and be part of that space, which has worked for people for a very, very long time. But now I'm sensing it's not working for people anymore. And what do they have? I mean, we see a lot of diversity in our world now, and people aren't connecting, and they're not connected. And it's kind of to me, it's kind of a spooky thing. But if they're finding different avenues to get connected and to find spirituality, then maybe that is the transformation that we are in the middle of.
Well, I know that in our stores, we welcome anyone and everyone, and I mean that. That's something probably one of the first things that somebody is when we hire. It's not just that we don't discriminate. It is a talk. I mean, there's no discrimination on any level whatsoever. And so everyone's welcome. And we've seen even an uptick in the, Christian mystic coming in the stores. And so that is interesting to me. And I would say that it's because I'm not sure what it is that's going on there. What I know that's going on in our stores is the fact that, and back to the witch thing. Yeah, my daughter did get asked at school one time. She went to a Christian, she got asked if I was a witch. So I will tell you that. So, and, and I do believe in a lot of the pagan beliefs too. So, so I read a lot, and I'm very eclectic in my beliefs. I'm very eclectic. And if we look at history, that's a whole nother show, right? If we look at history and where all the beliefs came from. So it's very, very interesting. So I would just say it has blown us away, the numbers of people that have been walking through our doors since we opened. And since, as far as walking through our doors, socially distanced and the way we could do it, since COVID, it is insane. I mean, we were on, I think it was CBS National News with our numbers. It was crazy, and how it is. And why? I think because be empowered, and they want to find their own empowerment. They don't want me to tell them how they're empowered. A female, a male, however someone identifies, they don't want me to tell them. They are deciding that for themselves, and they're deciding what they want to be and who they want to become. And maybe, you have to pick and choose at other places, and you can't find that right fit perhaps. And the world's changing, and maybe others aren't keeping up.
We like I always say, we don't get to know how we don't want to be until we get there. I think we're there. Right.
Well, did Texas ever go on such a lockdown that you had to close your stores for a little while? Yes. Or have you always? Oh, you did.
Wow.
We closed, so we are in March and April. We closed March and April. One of our stores was completely shut down, and we were able to ship for one of those months, March and April. We were able to ship out of one of our stores and do curbside service. So it was, but in spite of that, our numbers, it's just been incredible. We've been very, I don't even like to use the word blessed, and I'll tell you why, because that implies somebody else isn't blessed. So we've worked hard, and we've seen exponential growth, and my guess is that people have seen it across the country because of that empowerment. And we also, I love to teach other people. That's why the book too, to do it themselves. So they're not, people say to me, when do I need to come back? Or when do I need to come back for him? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, you let me know how you're doing, but no, you don't need to make an appointment before you leave or anything like that. Get my book,
Read the book.
Read the book. And so, I don't want anybody reliant on me or the things we have in our store. That's up to them.
Speaking of the book, you have a copy of it right there. I believe this is Michelle's book, and it is The Magic of Connection. Stop cutting cords and learn to transform negative energy to live an empowered life. And it just came out in January. So Michelle, how's the reception been? It's
been really, really good. I try to not look at all the numbers. My husband's sitting over here and he's going, but Lou Allen is my great publisher, and they keep track of all that. Benabel Wynn is an incredible lawyer also. She wrote the foreword. She's licensed in California and New York, and she is amazing. And so she's written 2 books and done all kinds of things. She's a patent lawyer, intellectual property lawyer.
Oh, wow.
She wrote the foreword to it, and I had a lot of good reviews. So we have a book club. It's been doing really well. And I appreciate coming on shows like this to help me promote the book.
Oh, we're lucky to, we are very grateful that you came to join us today. You're a hot topic in the world.
So and so I just signed 2 more contracts for 2 new books with Llewellyn and a card deck with Llewellyn too. It's going to be a crystal card deck. So with my husband there, so it's doing really well. And here's why I care, honestly, is because I believe in it. You asked why I wrote it, and that's why, because I think when you go through something and you realize, even the first day we were here in Tucson, and I realized, dadgummit, I really do need this. I really do need my book. I guess I got to start over chapter 1. Dadgummit. And I don't want anybody to ever feel that way, because that is life, right? It's a journey. And it sounds so cliche to say it's a journey, but it is. And that's why I take us through the superhero's journey, that we have our sidekicks to help us.
I love that superhero's journey. I just love that. That's very cool. And you coined that in your book as well. So you just opened another store in Frisco. Is that San Francisco?
That is Frisco, Texas.
Okay.
Frisco, Texas.
I was going to say, Jackie and I are in the Seattle area, and the Seattle area is kind of different. And I bet that you would do very well with a store like yours in the Seattle area. So when you get ready, you let Jackie and I know, because we can tune you in to some of the Seattle. It's a different place.
So tell us about your store. What do you carry at your store?
Yeah.
Oh, what don't we carry? Let's see. So, Roger, what we carry, crystals. We started off with, I don't even have any on, because it will make it would, you guys would be like, you expert speakers would say, take off those dangly, those make such noise. We started off with beaded bracelets. When I was practicing law, and when active, I can still practice law. I just don't have time. So I keep my license active, because I worked very hard for that license, right? And so I pay a lot of money, and I take a lot of courses, right?
They call that attachment, Michelle.
I know, I can't let go. And so it was so important to me. And so they're beaded bracelets, and they still sell like crazy, because there was so much love put into those. I think that is the reason why, the energy behind them. So there are all kinds of different bracelets. There's one for, Saint Germain. There's one for animals. There's one for, your whatever healing bracelets. We have archangel bracelets. We started with our archangel bracelets. And so they're just all different kinds of beaded bracelets. And you can kind of use them like mala beads for affirmations, to say your affirmations. Then we have, what else? Crystals, we have herbs, we have candles, we have statues, we have our own Florida water, because some of the Florida water that's for sale out there is toxic. And so it's clean. And we have books and cards and gifts. And
oh my goodness, Jackie, we're going to have to go to Arizona. Next time you go to Arizona, drag me with you, and we're going to have to check out Michelle's store.
They're in Texas.
Sure.
Though,
Sounds
right?
very cool.
Yeah.
I love Sedona as well.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, ladies, we are out of time. Michelle, thank you so much. Did I fulfill my promise? Did you have a blast?
I had a blast. Yes, I did. You guys are so great. Thank you.
We have a blast, and I'm glad you had a blast too. And thank you so much for showing up as you. And I hope you're open to coming back, because I think there's a lot more. We need to hear more about her store, right, Jackie?
Absolutely. Yeah, we can check it out online, right, Michelle?
Absolutely. Yes. You can find me at michellewelch.com, in the store and that it is the guru. There's the Soultopia.guru. There's also my soultopia.com. And the reason it was guru, because that was cheap when we first started.
I didn't know they had an extension like that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
It was affordable. Yeah.
Oh, thank you again. Jackie, any quick comments?
Well, I'll just comment on the connection. You've helped me to see a new way to experience connection, because Todd and I are speakers, and we always talk about connecting through story with our audience. But now I feel like more of connecting with energy to other people. So I thank you for giving me a new perspective.
That's very cool for you to say something like that. That's awesome. You've come a long way, babe. You know that? Oh, yeah, I shouldn't say it like that. Thank you so much for tuning in to Life Mastery Radio today. I hope we gave you some great thoughts and ideas for you to use on your very own life mastery journey. And check out Michelle's book. It's a really cool book, The Magic of Connection. I just love that word, magic. That's about all we have time for today. Lastly, please make it a great day, because it is all about choice. Bye-bye for now.